Imagine a world where AI doesn't just, use knowledge, but actually creates it.
Right, not just optimizing within rules we set.
Exactly, but like fundamentally innovating. Think of a brilliant scientist in a lab, maybe discovering something totally new. Except that scientist is an AI. Today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty groundbreaking called ASI-ARCH. That's Artificial Superintelligence for AI Research.
It's not just about AI getting, incrementally better.
No, this is the wild part. It's about AI designing itself to be better.
Yeah, we're digging into this really fascinating new research paper. It's titled ASI-ARCH, AlphaGo Moment for Model Architecture Discovery.
Quite a title.
It is. And the paper, along with all its figures and appendices, it really lays out their whole method and, frankly, some incredible results.
Okay.
It's just the real gold mine if you're interested in how we might actually scale the process of scientific discovery.
So our mission for you listening today is to pull out the key insights from all this. You're going to get a handle on how an AI system can sort of autonomously come up with ideas.
Hypothesize.
Right. Hypothesize, then build them, implement them, and then check if they actually work. Validate these new AI architectures.
And it's not just a small step forward.
No, this feels like it could fundamentally change the whole pace of discovery. So we'll explore how this AI basically acts as its own researcher, what surprising things it found.
And there were definitely surprises.
And crucially, what these breakthroughs suggest about how innovation itself could, scale up.
Yeah. Where do we even start?
So let's kick off at the why. What's the problem ASI-ARCH is actually trying to solve here?
Well, the paper highlights this really interesting paradox.
Okay.
AI capabilities. They're shooting up, exponentially. We see it everywhere, right? Language models, image generation.
Sure, seems like every week there's something new.
Exactly. But the pace of AI research, the fundamental work, that's still pretty much limited by us, by human brain power, human cognitive capacity.
I see. So our ability to do the research is becoming the bottleneck.
Precisely. Human research bandwidth is getting stretched thin. It's like you've got this incredibly fast engine AI potential, but we're the ones slowly paving the road ahead.
That's a great analogy. We can't pay fast enough for the car.
Pretty much. Yeah. And that's where this vision comes in. Artificial Superintelligence for AI Research, or ASI for AI.
Okay, so that's the big idea.
Yeah, the really transformative vision here is AI systems that can just autonomously conduct their own science, design the next generation of models themselves.
Wow, that's a shift. From us leading the innovation to maybe AI driving its own evolution.
Exactly. Self-sustaining progress, potentially.
So within that huge vision, why zoom in on neural architecture discovery? Why that specific piece?
Good question. The paper argues it's the most challenging and impactful frontier for this whole ASI for AI idea.
Impactful, I get. I mean, think about the big leaps in AI history.
Right. CNNs, transformers.
Every single one came with a big architectural breakthrough, didn't it?
Absolutely. And the current challenge, which is sort of the testing ground for this research, is how do you improve computational efficiency?
Make them run faster, use less power.
Right, while keeping them powerful, maintaining expressive power. Especially tricky with these complex attention-based architectures everyone's working on.
Okay. Now, you might be thinking, hang on, haven't we heard about things like neural architecture search, NAS, before? How is this different?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction. Traditional NAS, it's clever, but it's fundamentally limited.
How so?
It's more like a sophisticated selection tool. It explores options, but only within a space that humans have already defined. We give it the building blocks, the rules.
So it picks the best combination from a menu we wrote.
Exactly. ASI-ARCH is aiming for a real paradigm shift. It's moving from that automated optimization, just picking the best, to automated innovation, meaning the AI generates novel concepts, things humans didn't necessarily think of, didn't put on the menu in the first place.
Okay, that is a big difference. So how does it actually do that? How does this AI innovate?
The paper lays out this core framework, ASI-ARCH. It's like a closed evolutionary loop. Think of it like a super efficient R&D team, but all AI.
An all AI R&D team. Okay.
And it had three main roles that work in a cycle. First, you've got the researcher.
The ideas person.
Exactly, the creative engine. It uses the reasoning and coding skills of large language models to just autonomously dream up new architectures.
Dream them up and build them.
Yes, and here's a really smart part of the design. A single agent does both the architectural design and the coding.
Ah, okay. Why is that important?
It stops what they call implementation drift. When the brilliant blueprint gets kind of lost in translation by the builders.
Right. The final product isn't quite what the architect envisioned.
Precisely. Here, the designer is the builder, ensures that perfect translation. Plus, this researcher has a two-stage check. First, is the idea actually new?
Novelty check.
Yep. And second, is it sane? Does the code make sense? Does it avoid doing obviously inefficient things like quadratic complexity if it's not needed?
Got it. So creative, but also practical. Who's next in the loop?
The baton then passes to the engineer. This is the one making sure things work in the real world.
Testing it out.
Right. It runs empirical evaluations, executes the proposed architectures. And here's another really clever bit. A robust self-revision mechanism.
Self-revision?
Yeah. If the training for a new architecture fails, which happens a lot in research, the system doesn't just junk it.
Okay.
It automatically grabs the error log, figures out what went wrong, and tasks the AI agent the same one, potentially with fixing its own code.
Huh. So it debugs itself.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Which is huge,
Yeah.
right? It means potentially great ideas don't get thrown out just because of a simple coding bug, like a human engineer fixing their own mistakes.
That's really smart. Stops throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. And it also has automated quality assurance to stop runs that are clearly going nowhere. Saves precious GPU time.
Makes sense. And the third role.
Finally, the analyst. This part pulls together all the results from the engineer's tests.
Synthesizes the data.
Synthesizes it, yeah. It figures out what was learned, acquires new insights.
Yeah.
And all this data, all the insights, they get stored in a central database.
A knowledge base.
A persistent memory, basically.
Yeah.
It feeds back into the start of the loop, informing the researcher's next set of ideas. So the whole system learns and improves over time.
A self-improving loop. Okay. But how does it know if it's actually getting better? Not just, finding weird loopholes to score well.
Good point. It avoids that reward hacking. They use what's called a composite fitness score. It's like natural selection in biology, but for AI designs.
Composite meaning more than just one number.
Right. It goes beyond just the simple stuff like loss metrics or benchmark scores. It also includes a qualitative assessment.
Qualitative. How does an AI do that?
They use a separate LLM that acts like an expert evaluator. It looks at the architectural innovation. Is this actually creative? How complex is the structure? Is the code correct? How well does it seem to be learning?
So it's like getting a peer review from another AI expert.
Sort of, yeah. It prevents the system from just optimizing for a single metric while ignoring other important aspects of a good design. Keeps it honest.
Okay, so it's got this evolutionary loop. It's got a sophisticated way to measure progress. Where does it get its initial ideas, its knowledge from?
Two main places. First, what they call the cognition base.
Okay.
This is basically distilled human knowledge. They fed it about 100 key research papers on linear attention models. Another LLM processed these papers.
Extracted the key concepts.
Exactly. Pulled out structured cognitions like what was the scenario, what was the algorithm, what's the history. Think of it as its foundational textbook knowledge.
Got it. Reading the literature, what's the second source?
This is where it gets really interesting. Contextual analysis. Insights generated from the system's own experiments, its own history.
Learning from experience.
Yes, and critically, it even looks at data from parent and sibling nodes in its evolutionary tree.
So, comparing its current attempt to previous related attempts.
Kind of like doing an automatic ablation study on itself.
Yeah.
Figuring out which specific parts of its previous designs actually contributed to success or failure. It's learning what worked and what didn't in its own trials.
Wow. Okay, so it's learning from human knowledge and its own self-generated experience.
Exactly. Now, doing all this, generating ideas, coding them, testing them, it's super computationally expensive, right?
I bet. Thousands of GPU hours, I imagine.
Tens of thousands, yeah.
Yeah.
So they used a pretty smart two-stage strategy to make it feasible. Exploration, then verification.
Exploration first.
Right, stage one. Exploration. Use smaller models, maybe 20 million parameters, train them on less data, like 1 billion tokens. Use cheaper protocols to quickly sift through lots of ideas.
Cast a wide net, find the promising candidates quickly.
Exactly. Generate a big pool of potential winners without breaking the bank.
And then verification.
And then stage two, verification. Take those promising candidates identified in the first stage.
The best one.
The best looking ones, yeah. And scale them way up, maybe 340 million parameters, train them on 15 billion tokens, test them really rigorously against the best known human design models, the state-of-the-art baselines.
So a quick initial screen, then a really deep, thorough check on the best prospects.
Makes sense, right? Find the needles quickly, then really polish them.
Definitely. Okay, so that's the setup. The big question is, did it work? What did ASI-ARCH actually find?
This is where the AlphaGo moment comparison comes in. Remember AlphaGo's move 37 against Lee Sedol?
Oh yeah, the move that stunned everyone. Looked wrong, but turned out brilliant.
Exactly. The paper argues ASI-ARCH did something similar. It uncovered unexpected strategic insights invisible to human players, but for neural architecture design.
So the AI found designs humans hadn't thought of, or maybe dismissed.
Designs that systematically performed better than the human-designed ones. It wasn't just matching humans, it was finding fundamentally better ways, sometimes counterintuitive ways.
Okay, give me some numbers. What did it achieve?
Get this. After running 1,773 autonomous experiments,
Okay.
over 20,000 GPU hours,
Wow.
ASI-ARCH discovered 106 innovative, state-of-the-art linear attention architectures.
106 new soda architectures, discovered by AI.
Yep. And when they tested them, the AI-discovered models consistently outperformed well-established human designs. Things like DeltaNet, Gated DeltaNet, Mamba 2.
So established baselines people use.
Right. On standard tests, language modeling, zero-shot common sense reasoning,
Yeah.
the AI's models were just better. And not just by a tiny bit, it was a systematic outperformance.
Systematically better. That implies the AI really found some core principles.
It seems so. Now, here's maybe the most profound part of this.
Okay.
They claim this work establishes the first empirical scaling law for scientific discovery itself.
A scaling law for discovery. What does that even mean?
It means they showed that architectural breakthroughs, finding these better designs, can be scaled with computation. Literally.
Yeah.
More computation, more discoveries.
Whoa.
Think about traditional human research. They estimate it takes maybe 2,000 hours of human effort per model discovered. That doesn't scale, right? You can't just throw infinite researchers at it instantly.
No, it's limited by people, time, funding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This research suggests you can potentially turn research progress, at least in this domain, from a human-limited process into something you can accelerate just by adding more computing power.
So more GPUs equals faster scientific breakthroughs, potentially?
That's the implication. It's like a concrete path towards that ASI-4 AI vision.
Yeah.
A blueprint for accelerating innovation itself.
That is potentially game-changing. Can you give an example of the kind of creative stuff the AI came up with? What did these architectures actually look like?
Yeah, they weren't just fiddling with parameters. The paper highlights some top performers, things with names like Pathgate FusionNet, Content Sharp Router.
Okay, fancy names.
Yeah. But the principles were cool. Some used, like hierarchical routing, sending information down different paths depending on the context. Others developed really sophisticated gating mechanisms.
Like smart switches for information flow.
Exactly, controlling what information gets through and where. Things like parallel sigmoid gates, dynamic floors, multipath gating. It wasn't just combining existing blocks in obvious ways. It was genuinely novel design.
Real creativity. But it makes you wonder, where did these good ideas actually come from inside the AI? Was it just making models bigger and more complex?
Great question. They looked into that. And interestingly, no. While it explored different complexities initially, the system didn't just keep making models bigger and bigger to get better results.
So it wasn't just brute forcing size.
No, it seemed to maintain some kind of architectural discipline, even without being explicitly told to limit parameters. The improvements came from smarter design, not just bigger design.
Okay, that's important. What about the building blocks it used? Did it invent totally new components or stick to known ones?
Another fascinating insight. When they analyzed the components the AI preferred, things like gating mechanisms, convolutions, it showed a bias towards things already established in the human literature it learned from.
Okay, so it leaned on known techniques.
Yes, but here's the twist. When they looked only at the very top-performing models, the model gallery, the variety of components used was actually less diverse.
Less diverse, so the best models use a smaller set of tricks.
Kind of. It suggests that the best designs converged on a core set of particularly effective, validated techniques. It wasn't just throwing everything at the wall. It's almost like mirroring good human science, right? Build upon proven foundations, but combine them in innovative ways.
Find the right tools for the job and use them well.
Exactly. Find the best proven pieces and combine them smartly.
Which leads to the absolute core question, right? The aha moment. When the AI did innovate, when it came up with something genuinely novel and good, where did that idea originate?
This is maybe the coolest experiment they ran. They tried to trace the origin of design ideas back to 3 possible sources.
Okay, what were they?
First, cognition knowledge. It got directly from reading those human expert papers. stuff humans already figured out.
Right, learning from the past.
Second, analysis patterns and insights it identified from analyzing its own past experiments, learning from its own successes and failures.
Brain discovery.
And third, original ideas that seem genuinely new, not directly traceable to either the literature or its own past specific experiments, generated by the model itself.
Okay, cognition, analysis, original, human knowledge, self-knowledge, and pure AI creativity. What did they find?
So, across all the designs the AI generated, good and bad, about half the ideas could be traced back to cognition to the human papers.
Okay, so it relied heavily on what it read.
Initially, yes. But here's the kicker. When they looked only at the top-performing, state-of-the-art models, the real breakthroughs.
A model gallery again?
Exactly. For those elite models, the contribution from analysis from learning from its own experiments shot way up. It became almost equal to cognition.
Whoa, so for the best results, learning from its own experience was just as important as learning from humans.
Almost neck and neck. Analysis was responsible for about 45% of the components in the best models, cognition around 49%. The original part was actually smaller for these top models, around 6-7%.
That's fascinating. So the truly breakthrough stuff wasn't just rehashing human ideas, nor was it mostly pulling random original ideas out of thin air.
It seems not. What this really strongly suggests is, for an AI to achieve truly breakthrough results, it can't just reuse past human successes. Relying only on cognition isn't enough for SOTA performance.
It needs that self-reflection.
It seems it has to go through that cycle of exploration, summary, and discovery. It needs to rely on its own analysis, synthesized from its own experimental history, to come up with truly superior solutions.
So true excellence comes from understanding gained through its own journey, its own trial and error.
That appears to be the key finding, a deeper, more abstract understanding built from experience.
Wow. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. Today, we've really unpacked ASI-ARCH, and it feels like, well, a potentially monumental leap.
It certainly feels significant.
We've seen an AI that doesn't just learn, but designs its own advanced components, its own architectures. It breaks free from some of those human limitations we talked about.
And even demonstrates a potential scaling law for discovery itself. That's huge.
Yeah, the idea that more compute could equal more breakthroughs. And critically, we learned that its best work, its most profound innovations, came not just from, reading the textbooks.
Not just from cognition.
But from deeply reflecting on and synthesizing its own experimental journey, from that analysis phase.
So here's a thought to maybe leave you with. If AI's biggest innovations, its deepest insights, come from analyzing its own process of trial and error, what does that imply for the future of science across all fields?
If that principle holds true elsewhere.
And maybe just as importantly, what does it mean for our role in all this? As the architects, the tenders of these potentially self-improving intelligences.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. This deep dive really feels like it's given us a glimpse of a blueprint for self-accelerating AI, a future where innovation itself might become computationally scalable.
It's definitely a fascinating development, something to keep a very close eye on.
Absolutely. Definitely something to mull over.